Harry Butler was born in the United States in southern North Carolina on October 20th, 1920. He grew up on a farm in a town called Reynoldston, an extremely rural area. When Harry's mother, Amasa, was 13 years old, she was raped. Harry was conceived, and Amasa gave birth to him when she was 14. Harry was raised by his grandparents, Nancy Green Butler and Pleasant or Ples Butler, who was of English, Scottish, American Indian, and slightly African American descent. According to research done by my cousin, a history teacher, at this time American Indians were only marked as such in state documents in areas with high Indian populations. Additionally, people who weren't 100% white were marked as mulatto, colored, or Negro, resulting in Nancy and Ples being listed as M in census forms. Harry was raised as the son of Amasa's parents, not knowing he was conceived from rape, and he believed Nancy and Pleasant Green were his parents. Harry's real mother, Amasa, got married when she was 18 years old to a black man and left the farm to live with him, leaving Harry in the care of his grandparents, who he believed to be his parents. Harry was only around 5 years old. Amasa had 7 children with her husband. Nothing is known about Harry's real father or his heritage, but we can assume he was mostly or all white because Harry and his descendants all look white for the most part as well. Amasa's husband died in 1933 and she was not able to raise the 7 children on her own, and they went off to live with other relatives. Eventually, she remarried and Harry moved back in with her at around age 15. At this point in 1936, Harry's grandparents, Nancy and Ples, had both died. Living with Amasa as a teenager, he also lived with his half-siblings who were all visibly black. It is possible that by this point, Harry was either told or figured out that Amasa was not his sister but his mother. After 2 years of living with Amasa, Harry left. He was quoted as saying he was leaving all of this behind. Though we don't know exactly what he meant, perhaps he knew he was a product of rape and didn't want the world to know. Harry came to New York at around age 18. Harry took out a life insurance policy in 1938 at this time and listed Amasa as the beneficiary, listing her as his sister. Again, it is unknown whether he still believed they were siblings or if he did know she was his mother and didn't want to reveal this information. What we do know is Harry did care enough about her to take out this policy so she would get the proceeds in case he died. Harry joined the Navy in late 1942 when he was 22 years old. He served in the Navy for 4 years until he was discharged, and he learned a tremendous amount there. He went to Ohio State University, which the GI Bill covered, meaning because of his service, the U.S. government paid for his tuition. After he graduated, Harry came to Queens, New York. He worked at Jasco Doors and Windows Company as a designer and woodworker, and he lived in a room rented out from a family called the Granitos. This is where Harry met his wife and my grandmother, Rose Granito. They got married in 1953 and settled right here in Garden City, New York. Harry was involved in woodworking, machinery, product design, and production scheduling and shipping at work. Naturally, he was very interested in the plan and design and building of his house, always involving himself and taking interest in any special projects. My dad says that his father Harry was always working in his shed or in the garage, finishing projects and improving their home. This is the same house I live in today, and I believe my grandfather Harry was very proud to have built this home and life for himself. My father, David Butler, was born on December 16, 1956, and was Harry's only child. Harry worked at his job at Jasco for most of his life to provide for his family. In 1975, Harry was let go from this job. Extensive recommendation letters were written about him, stating Harry was the solver of most of our insolvable production problems and a hard-nosed supervisor when necessary, but always remained a businessman and a gentleman. My dad says there was no impossible or technical problem that his father Harry couldn't solve. Luckily, Harry had already been working on a project with 2 good friends to start their own company. Soon after, they officially became owners of their own company, Hoonright Industries Incorporated. Though he was only a 5% owner of the company with only 10 shares, Harry was still proud to have created something for himself while doing what he loved. Besides from manufacturing and handiwork, Harry loved sports, especially baseball and horse racing. He loved music and he loved to eat. On September 15, 1980, Harry Butler had a heart attack while working in his garage. Nobody in his family had ever gone to the doctor, especially during his childhood, for they were dirt poor, and because of this he had no idea heart problems ran in the family. He was only 60 years old. Harry Butler was a man who was not supposed to be born. He did not come from much, and his childhood was likely confusing and lonely. Yet he lived a full life, finding a family, building a home and career, and by the end of his life he was able to say, "I made it." Though he died young, he built a tremendous life for himself, and I am proud to be his granddaughter and to continue his legacy today.